Welcome, everybody. Sorry it's a touch late. Welcome to the City of Coldwater Downtown Development Authority meeting for January 22nd, 2025. If it feels a little weird being here at 4 p.m. versus 8 a.m., join the crowd. I don't have coffee. It's just very unnatural. But we will go forward. First thing I have, we do have for attendance today, Matt contacted me. He is unable to make it today. He's helping out at the EB Center today, so he's working at a good cause. So I would entertain a motion to excuse his absence.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion passes. Next up is public comments. Anybody have any public comments for us today? Okay, seeing none, we will move on.
Laura, do you want to join us on this side of the table?
No, I'm feeling a little.
balance for your hand.
It's all right.
Are you okay? Brain power wise or buddy?
And I better just invite her over at least.
That's why I just come.
Sorry, just picking.
We're very heavy on this.
Okay, items on our consent agenda for today. Does anybody have anything they would like to take off of the consent agenda? Okay, the items that we have on the consent agenda are the regular meeting minutes of November 20, 2024, the promotion committee minutes of November 26, 2024, the organization committee minutes of December 3rd, 2024, promotions committee minutes of December 19, 2024, the Economic Vitality Committee minutes of December 20, 2024, Design Committee minutes of January 10, 2024, the Economic Vitality Committee minutes of January 17th, 2025, and the 2025 Impact Report. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, hearing none, it is approved. Next item is the November and December 2024 bills and accounts in the amount of $34,329.06. Does anybody have any questions regarding the bills and accounts?
Yeah, there was one on, there we go. Then business, the 94,794 MUNIBI.
Munibit, yes, Munibit is the web host of our website. So that's an annual charge for having the website and for all the technical assistance they provide when we've got content to add, change, create, etc.
Our two $1,800 payments in November were just catching up. There was one, what was it, 11/12 and then 11/21, the DDA rebate, 58 West Chicago. There were both of them in November. Was that double done or was it catching up or paying ahead?
So I had the same question, Brad. So if you look at the notes on those, one says November of 24.
Mhm.
One says July of 24, which I thought was odd. And then
Mhm.
there's a gap before one towards the bottom that says December of 2024. So there's actually three of them on there.
Yep, but two in November. Two paid in November.
Paid in November, yes.
Yeah.
Just my general understanding is that there's been absences and all turnover in the finance department, and there are certain things that we're just finding later that
July
need to
slipped
be
through the
caught up
cracks,
with.
you're saying, okay.
So that's my only comment there, other than for the past couple months, anything like since October has just been coming straight to my desk. And we should not be getting lost in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, so the one that really stuck out to me was the July one, though. I mean, I get it since we've missed
Yeah.
that we had a November one and a December one. Was that somehow missed back in July? And if you don't know the answer, you can figure that out later. of
I do
course.
not, and I will check with Tom and I can send a follow-up.
Okay, that'd be
Just want to
great.
make sure we weren't making a double payment.
Yes, we'll make sure.
I had it, that was triple payment.
Well,
It's even
November,
worse.
December. Yeah, I see.
Any other questions on the bills and accounts?
Nope.
Okay.
Show you more pages of that just in case.
Not hearing any additional questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the November and December of 2024 bills and accounts in the amount of $34,329.06.
So moved.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have support?
Second.
All right, we have motion and support. All in favor of approving the bills and accounts as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, hearing none, it is approved. I do not see
Yes,
Chris
Christine
here.
sent me a message this afternoon saying that the time threw her off. So I will be sending out a written report, kind of an update from her since she's had another meeting scheduled at this time.
Well, I can vouch for her that, so this Saturday night is the CCR concert.
Oh.
And then there's also March 15th is a comedy show as well. So at least know those two things are up in the near future.
Do you know that because you're sponsoring by chance?
I was just gonna ask.
So I'm not sponsoring the
Were you a
CCR, but
ticket?
I'm attending.
Ah,
We
gotcha.
are sponsoring the comedy show on March 15th.
And the CCR sounds fabulous.
Yeah, they had a-
Old people here that might want to listen. It really sounds like it's gonna be a good concert.
I like them too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have collectively provided the Tibbetts update. From Christine, whether we did or did not do better. You can watch for yourself.
Right.
Next up is the director's report.
Yep, I just have a few slides this month because some of the content is going to come up under committee requests. I did have one error. I had intended to provide you with the accreditation summary and recommendations within the consent agenda, but it did not make it in there. That might be positive in somewhat. I know we're going to go through the Main Street Impact Report this toward the end of the meeting, so we can save the accreditation summary and recommendations more in depth for February. I did want to just hit the high notes though. We are meeting all of the requirements, the minimum standards for requirements except for work plans. I think this is similar to other communities in Michigan are also scoring similarly in terms of needing to improve the quality of our work plans. And for that reason, there is a training scheduled, a virtual training for noon this Friday, specific to work plans. The Main Street staff at the state level did say they think it will be pretty easy for us to rise up to the national standard that they've set out for us. And for those who can't attend that training live, which includes myself, it will be recorded so we can play those back on our own free time or with committees. So
Where's that meeting at?
Hmm?
Where is that meeting at?
virtually, so there'll be a
All
link.
of it is-
I know I had a lot of links in the board member newsletter this month. It does live there and I can send it out individually as well. We all love work plans. Okay, something that our Main Street staff have been very proactive in this year, especially because they have to coordinate with some national staff, is scheduling dates for our next accreditation site visit, which will be in person again in the fall, specifically on October 16. I'm hoping that you guys can give us just some direction in terms of if we have a general preference for a morning or an afternoon session. I believe previously we met around noon or 1 o'clock together as a group, and the alternative would be, do we meet around 9 or 10? So I know that's very far out and may not really matter too much, but they're asking us to just lock in a time frame so that they can plan their travel well in advance. Got reactions to that?
Anybody have a preference? I mean, it's far enough out. There's nothing on my calendar I look at.
And then should we check the day of the week for that in case there are?
Thursday.
Thank you. Okay,
Lunch hour's a little tough for retail.
okay,
So do morning?
It's be a little easier.
great, easy.
Yeah.
Morning work for everybody? Okay.
Done. Thank you. Small update on fund development. We did have a couple cards to sign up in the corner. I think many of you hit that on your way in, if not on the way out, because we did get 2 donations that came in as a result of the mailer that we sent out in November. And we also had a couple organizations reach out to us and say, hey, we got your letter. We have to use a formal process. And so then gave us the information to apply through that more formal channel this spring. So the next newsletter will go out in February since these are quarterly. And in addition to that activity, we will, in the spring, at some point, do a workshop with the board again about how to reach out to our personal and professional networks in a more targeted fashion so that we can try to meet our fundraising goal. Questions about that?
So you said 2 individuals and some,
Mhm. In addition to, and we'll get into this later, we've also got some event-specific sponsorships coming in as well. Okay. Very quick recap on the coloring book workshops at the library. We had 25 line drawings that were created from anywhere, age range of, how old is Oliver? 8. Yeah, 8 to probably 65. So we had lots of fun during those workshops with students, kiddos, older adults, and myself. And so I believe second story staff are going to clean those up for us at some point, and then we'll figure out the final list of designs, kind of adding other content, maybe crossword searches, things of that nature, and then getting pricing on what a coloring book would cost us to create. So it was very fun. I did include 2 examples there, one in pen and one in pencil, just to show you an example of what we were able to create from those drawings using the light boards, the tracing paper, and then just quite frank in printouts of building photos. And we still have that equipment, so if your building didn't get traced, for example, and you'd like to, I can give you the materials if you'd like to do a little arts and crafts of your own. Love Local, we've got a group working, obviously the Economic Vitality Committee is working on Love Local, which will be February 8th this year from 11 to 2. This will be free to the public as a reminder, so we're hoping to generate a lot more foot traffic. Usually we've got around 105 or 110 people, and we're hoping that making it free will double that. We will have saxophone music, we'll have a photo booth with a custom photo frame that people can print out and take home, similar to what we did the first year with this event. And I think we're up to at least 11 soup and chili tasting stations. So very excited. Laura has done a great job kind of generating sponsors for that event as part of that committee. And so Blush and Ivory Bridal Company and the Children's Museum will both be joining us as sponsors this year, which helps offset some of our costs by making that event free to the public instead of charging a small ticket price, which we've done previously. So that will be fun though. So let me know who wants to sprint around downtown and taste those with me.
did I read we're looking for 2 more sponsors, or was this?
Our goal was
2 or
3.
4, I think I saw. or
Was
something
3,
like
I have not heard back from Southern Michigan National Bank yet, so I've not, or Bank and Trust, I've not heard back from them yet.
So our goal was 3. So currently we've got 2, which is
Good.
decent shape.
Okay.
Just because we need to finalize the marketing materials and schedule the posts and get the flyers printed. Those have to basically be wrapped up by Friday. But we're in a pretty good position. I do think we're gonna come in under budget on the cost for the activities. So if we do or don't get that 3rd sponsor, it might end up being a wash relative to what we budgeted at the beginning for that.
Good.
Okay. There we go. I was supposed to print, well, Matt was supposed to print, but I see Matt's absent today. We've been telling you we're gonna have a sign up for this. So if you guys have the patience, I know that the digital form, we had a lot of snafus with. But for the 2025 meetups, these kick off tomorrow, the first out of 10 or so that we're going to be doing this year that the organization committee has helped coordinate. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. at the Lamplighter. So we did put that in the downtown newsletter for a couple months. We added a page to the website about it. We printed out rat cards, and myself and Brad and Matt made several hours of rounds handing those out to downtown businesses a couple weeks ago. I think there's only maybe 2 to 4 that we didn't make it into. to promote that. So as you guys are out and about tomorrow, if you happen to be walking along your block and you want to pop in and just like remind people, that would be wonderful. And we'll see who comes to hang out and chat with us tomorrow night.
Do we have more of the rat cards? Do you have them? or-
Yep, yes. So if you just,
I don't think Hauska has one. At least I haven't seen one.
I think like I gave it to a certain person, but I won't say it in case one, I'm wrong, and two.
Give it to Bruce.
I think I gave it to John, but I'm not sure.
Give it to Andy.
Every office has a black hole.
In here,
You put that, how that went?
the family.
Give it to the ladies that work in the office. There you go.
Yeah. Yes, so we do have plenty of those. Just grab me after and then I can give you
Okay.
a nice little stack. We did print 150.
So no commitments by block personnel to rattle some doors tomorrow. It's just kind of casual.
You'd like to coordinate block volunteers to rattle some
Today?
doors tomorrow?
Today?
Do it. from floor to 10.
I regret to inform
gonna-
you, I've already got a
I'll
12
go over.
day. You're gonna
Beat
see
up
me at
this
7
tomorrow.
AM for Rotary.
Thanks, Sal. No, I will run up and down the street.
Yeah,
real
that would
quick.
be
I think
ideal.
Sometimes you just need
It's
to.
just a matter of coordinating,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Okay.
So as we get our feet under us, the
Mhm.
machine will become more and more well-oiled
Yeah.
over time.
Thank you.
So yeah, I was supposed to have a sign up sheet for you if, we'll figure that out maybe in February, just so that we can make sure we've got 2 to 3 board members at every event. And then, regardless of who else can make it, it'll be good for our own socializing and, relationship building. So
What is February's date? Maybe we could get some commitment.
it's at
right now.
Glow Studio at 8 in the morning on a Tuesday. And the actual date of that would therefore be the 18th. Okay,
18th of February.
yes. 8 AM, Glow Studio. I know Annette has signed up and I will obviously be there. So
I didn't sign up for February.
just kidding. Just kidding. I will be there. Myself and Matt and Nicole.
I'd like to be there. If I'm not though, I know Lily for sure. It would probably consider it, and Jennifer. So I mean, even somebody from the
Lily.
store in Grand Rapids.
Yes.
I heard you were kind of.
Yeah, I was, well, I told Mike, I was doing market research in Grand Rapids. I went to a silent disco and had the idea, which should have occurred to me sooner, that that's how we solve the sound challenge with wanting to do concerts or things in the park downtown. We just need to invest in,
Headphones for everybody and we have our own concert.
yeah, and then who cares what's going on outside of that? And it's quieter. It wouldn't disrupt tenants or neighbors or other activities, so.
I thought maybe you were up there doing some recon, so at some point, I don't think it would hurt to have a little conversation about that, because Lily thought it was a very nice event.
It was well that they had, yeah, I took mental notes. I haven't put those on.
Maybe
paper
something
yet.
to talk about tomorrow night at the meetup.
Absolutely.
How about that?
I did make a joke to Brad or to Mike. I'm like, well, since I went, is this mileage reimbursement? Because no, it's not. I was there for my own fun. Anyway.
But anyways, it sounded like those are good things. I'm glad you're doing things like that.
Mhm. And I did kind of Google around. You can rent headphones. It is expensive. I have no idea what it would cost to buy. But if we get a, just
Yeah.
figure like that's a priority and a long-term benefit, we could figure out potentially some grant funding to
Remember
apply
Kim
for.
Humker used to have those headphones and that trailer that she had? She did those experience things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
She had,
That's
I
right.
wonder what those are
I think that's like just a typical, like a headphone to a,
with the.
with an
the thing.
individual
Okay.
thing versus like a Wi-Fi
Oh,
headphone that
right.
connects to a central.
I wasn't
Um,
sure.
Right.
One thing that was nice about it is you could click between 2 different DJs.
Right.
So one depends on the time.
Oh.
My fingers got cold. I couldn't hang all night. So you, like, one would be one kind of genre or another one
Fun.
might be more like Latin inspired. And so you just kind of choose your own adventure in a way. Interesting.
Things, don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
You see something. that
R&D.
works.
Mhm.
Yeah, so tomorrow, and then maybe this would work better if we just get signups at each board meeting for the next event instead of trying to get commitments several months in advance.
Well, I intend to be there tomorrow, so that's one.
Okay.
Well,
I'll be there.
I'll be there
Yeah.
tomorrow, but
Also
not
be there.
February.
I could be there for
Also
30 minutes. I think
planning.
we'll have good friends.
Okay.
Or why
I
don't
will
we
say-
do signups at
Tomorrow.
that one, Audrey, for the next one? That way we're kind of like locked in before that,
Yeah. We'll workshop
Okay.
it.
Okay.
I think maybe trying to do it a year at a time was a little ambitious.
Yeah.
And things come up, trainings
Yeah,
come up that we don't
right.
have dates for yet, so
Right.
that could. So maybe we should just do it a month at
Yeah.
a time. Okay, noted. Great. I will say people, at least in talking to them, Brad, maybe you can speak to this, seemed very excited. Just across the board. I know, did you go? No, Matt went with me to
Good
the
positive.
executive suites building.
We'll see about the follow through,
Right,
but at least the reception was
Mhm.
positive.
I agree. I don't mean this for this slide to be overwhelming, but I do want you all to think about what timeframes of the year work for you to potentially be able to participate in one or two trainings. We do have a number of organizations who provide training opportunities to us. Most notably, that's our Michigan Main Street coordinating staff and the Michigan Downtown Association, although there are others that pop up that are relevant to us. And there's different mixes of, you could attend an event in person if that works with your schedule and travel, or you could say, you know, maybe that's not going to work for me, but I can try to make it to a couple of these virtual options. So just be thinking about those timeframes, and as agendas become available and we know content, try to carve out time for one or two of those this year. And I do keep track of that. It's part of my monthly reporting to Main Street, is kind of what board members are engaging in. I do know there, I think one of our staff members is working on an RRC strategy item that's asking a lot of our boards and commissions to commit to training plans. So you might see a form relative to this, or maybe an annual commitment or sorts in the future. But for now, just kind of keep this on your radar. We do have the topics for the March 5th MDA spring workshop are available. So that one's in Lansing. That's easy to get to and from in a day, whereas I know some others might be further away. So I've listed those for you here. Taking care of business, yours. Um, Institutional memory and the role that that plays in your organization. Are we as financially stable as we could be? You know, general information about building strong downtowns, historic preservation incentives, and a couple other miscellaneous items. So if you have time, if that sounds interesting to you, I'd be happy to help coordinate your attendance at that training. So, and I also appreciate that this does take time out of your regular work schedules. I think this is a moment would be nice to share that I did finish my own certification recently, which is a public management certificate. That's an example of something that I yeah, it was well worth. It's not a,
Statistics class. Weird.
yeah, I survived.
Good job.
Thrived. We came out on top. But were there tears in the middle? Maybe. But that's just an example of something like, I understand that this takes time outside of work. That's something I've chipped away at for the past couple years, completely outside of work hours, just because it's not necessarily required for my job, even though it has been a great benefit for people who've been around more than a couple years. If you wonder why our budget suddenly got so sophisticated and education based, it's because my first class in that program was a public budget and finance class, and I got to, you know, write a final paper about Grand Rapids financial statements and analyze them and kind of take that and apply it to us. So it has been useful. It has been lots of work. So I appreciate asking you guys to do some of these things that I know are outside of your regular schedules as well. I empathize. Okay. Impact report outreach. I know we're going to get to the actual impact report here shortly, or a few items from now, but just want to let you know I do have 4 presentations scheduled. The first of which is 7 a.m. tomorrow. Brad, I'll see you there.
Good breakfast. It's a good breakfast.
It is, yeah, free breakfast, right? And just gotta leave my house at 6:30. So 4 of those scheduled, might be adding a 5th. It just depends if council would like to see that on its own or as part of my Growth Alliance report. We do have staff working on getting help from Aaron with graphics to do some social media posts that make it publicly and in our newsletters. And one small fun update that we've also promoted is that since we completed that impact report, I think our report says like 969 volunteer hours, but we've officially surpassed 1,000. So congrats to you all. I know we've only been tracking these for about 3 years since we became a Main Street community, but your time and efforts are reflected in that. And I am so grateful. So thank you. A look at February projects. Some of these things I've already mentioned. We will and do have the funds the first half of funds for the facade restoration initiative grant. And we will be able to coordinate a fun check presentation and potentially a breakfast or something at Jeannie's for their work at 14 West Chicago Street. And I think the only other thing I'll spend a little time on is board member check-ins. Roughly every 6 months or so, I've just last year started to offer meeting times, like totally open, casual, no real agenda other than if you want to come talk to me about specific things, ask questions, learn about something, share feedback. It's just kind of an open invite to do that. So I've carved out a few dates in late February and early March for that, which I'll share with you guys shortly. And these are not required. They are just encouraged at your discretion, and we can meet anywhere. We can meet City Hall, we can meet downtown. You know, if you want to really show me a cool room in your house, I can meet there too. So very up to what works for you.
I think those are very productive times too. We should
Are
stop and,
they?
we should stop and,
Did you schedule one last time, Brian?
you and I spent a lot
Yeah,
of time
you and I have a
together.
lot of
together.
time that's not scheduled, yes.
And it just helps to be focused in those conversations at times. I would encourage
Mhm.
everybody to take the time to do that once in a
Yeah.
while.
And I know some board members, we're, yes, in each other's offices a lot more often and just based on your role and your committee projects and not everyone has that frequency and sometimes people like an invitation to connect. So
That's great.
that's what that is. Again, totally optional. And that's the end of my report. Questions other than anything that might be coming up later in the agenda?
I just have a quick question, Audrey, that I wrote
Yeah.
down. Are you, when you do presentations, are you going to be telling them about our new fund at the Community Foundation for giving? Is that part of your agenda? Okay, just wanted to make sure that's covered.
It is, and that's, and we'll get to this later, but the
Okay.
reason why, so I've given you guys,
Mhm.
this is what Main Street puts together as part of our impact report, but there's a lot of great data that we collect every month, and there's a lot of other interesting things to comment on. And so I've taken this, put it in a completely different screen-friendly format, and then that gives me the option to add in other things that aren't part of this technically part of the formal report, but that are really important to share. So you'll see that in a minute, which includes upcoming projects or things that haven't been reported on yet. All right, great. Oh,
You are up next.
I didn't realize. Okay. Yeah, so we have an apparel request. Some members of the promotion committee and I met to just to talk about board member promotion and being more visible as a board, kind of providing perks of service, creating a shared image, and also as a way to thank you guys for what you're doing and to create some shared identity. So with them, we developed a program of sorts, which would be 3 apparel items that each board member receives, like a short sleeve t-shirt, like a casual option, a short sleeve polo, something a little bit more formal and weather summer friendly, and then a long sleeve quarter zip, which would feature our organization logo, so Coldwater Main Street. And I've included, I'll show you the examples of this. The cost is essentially $75 per board member, give or take. Some of these we've already spent money on because we did do t-shirts last year in the summertime, and so we wouldn't necessarily have to reorder those for everyone. But the total cost upfront is only $450 to $500, and then of course this isn't an expense that it would incur every year because board member terms are for 4 years. So then it just kind of becomes a rolling basis. Question about purpose before I show you the examples?
No.
No, fairly straightforward. Great. Okay. T-shirt options from last year and or V-neck as requested. Polo options. We did try to choose those that were most similar to our branding colors, obviously noting that it's not going to be a perfect fit. Quarter
Oh, so
zip.
that's where the colors came from.
Huh?
I couldn't figure out why you picked some of the colors. So now we know the branding.
Yes, out of a hat.
I thought maybe red. I mean, it's Coldwater Cardinals. But that's just my thought.
Mhm.
I'm
Well,
getting black either way, so it doesn't matter
Right.
to me.
Right.
and
But you gotta
Courtney,
make sure to
Courtney
include a
didn't
black.
know, like there were a
Yeah.
couple of moments where like,
You're
should we
not
do,
getting a red one, I know that.
should we do black or navy? And Courtney's comment, well, our board president will only wear black, so let's do right by him. So these are examples of polos. We've got 2 examples of quarter zip. Logo placement might vary. This is me just playing around with Canva. And the, oops, nope, those were the 3. So 2 options for quarter zip, 4 for polo, and 2 for the t-shirts. We don't have a work plan because this doesn't really have a lot of action items tied to it. It's basically just, do we want the expense and in that perk, or is there
How long
something
mark
else
to
in mind?
order these, like, will we end up setting? You end up setting up
I
like an
think
online-
I don't think we need to do that. I think now that we know which product items that we're doing and the
Okay,
colors we're
just
gonna
let
work
you know.
with, I think it would be much more just like shooting an email, this is
Okay.
what this person wants.
Okay,
Maybe a little more structured the first time since we have so many people.
Yeah.
But after that, it's really just going to be as we add have natural turnover in the board, which knock on wood wouldn't be 5 people at a time.
And are these shirts for all of us then?
Yes,
And
we'd
then
each
to
get,
wear like to,
Like tomorrow night would be a perfect example.
Yeah.
okay, to
Mhm.
our events and like to Love
Mhm.
Local and to the different things when we're out.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, okay,
encouraged.
Okay.
Again, no formal policy that you have to show up logoed, but
Pops
okay,
would be a good example.
Mm.
okay.
I think the DDA is so obscure in the community as far as who we are, what we do, you know, what we represent, that any way we can show that cohesive identity
Mhm.
would really, really be a helpful thing, like tomorrow night.
Right.
Mhm.
And also invite some questions, right?
Absolutely. I, I support that very much. And again, some things are much easier, but it's always been a confusement. DBA, DDA, Main Street, is a part of the city council, you know, what do you guys do? I mean, it's just, we need to let them know
Mhm.
at least who to contact, like you said.
Probably always will be a little bit confusing in a
Sure.
sense, but
But anything we can do to clarify,
mhm.
I think the Main Street program has helped. I really.
And that's where you focus on what we're doing and what we're accomplishing, right? Regardless of what supposed umbrella it comes under.
Yeah.
We talk about what we have accomplished.
Great, good point.
Any more discussion? I'd entertain a motion to approve the request.
Motion.
My second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we have passed.
I think we just got you all on the minutes there. That was fun.
Next up is the 2025 advertisement request. Courtney.
So usually we do these one at a time where we come to you asking for individual ads, but they kind of all hit around the same
Got it.
same time of the year. So Audrey just thought we might as well put them all together at one time. A lot of these we've done before. We already have a banner for the rec department because we've done it before as an outfield sponsor for Little League and things like that. So just kind of a blanket, like these are the ads that are proceeding with. We did cut back on a couple, but promotions committee has some ideas for some new things coming up for 2025 and 2026. So you'll see those work plans as we go.
So this is in essence the same one, all the ones we've already done in
The only new
prior
one
years?
there is the Noon Club show. So we had, it was mentioned, why don't we advertise in that program? It's well attended and it's obviously held in our downtown, and we want to make sure that we support Noon Club. So that's the only add-on this year.
Mhm. So the publications are the same with the exception of that addition. And then as Courtney noted, the size of ads for some of these have
Mhm.
gone down to make room in the budget for some other activities that
Which have
they're
gone
working
down?
on.
I think the lake access was like higher,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Lake access and the playbill ad have gone down. I think
Playbill
visitor,
ad is for Tibbetts.
and I think visitors
Mhm.
guide is the same as last year.
Because there was quite a bit of discussion in the visitor's guide the last couple of years. Is that getting cleaned up and? Like I say, I think it was even last year, there was quite a bit of discussion before we felt that was a healthy investment for us.
Mhm. So we have
And
scaled back.
didn't we include a QR code or something there to see as
We
well if we were getting
Yeah.
specific feedback from that?
Yeah, promotions committee reviewed it.
QR code use is low across the board. I think it's hard to track that. We've learned because like if I see that, I might just type in what it is and not scan the QR code. We have asked several times for the at least the website data for the digital version and have not received it. But I think the thought behind continuing to place an ad is because it does have wide distribution, regardless of some of our other questions or thoughts. So it doesn't hurt to do it necessarily. It is a partner organization of sorts. And I do know that the Visitors Bureau is considering potentially funding some of our art program initiatives and just kind of way to continue supporting the work that they're doing. Um,
I know, I think
But
distribution was.
to
a
your point,
challenge
like we
too.
do have
Yeah.
some questions about impact, and with print, it is just historically, it's just difficult. You can't track it in the same way that you have digital, so we kind of just assume that based on the number of places that it does reach, it's probably, worth what we are putting into it,
Mhm.
even if we don't have the metrics necessarily to prove that.
I'd say with a reduced amount, that certainly makes it a little bit easier to proceed.
Okay, I'm just curious what some of the discussion was with the concerns we've had in the past.
Any other questions for Courtney or discussion regarding the work plan as presented? We have a motion to approve the promotion work plan as presented relative to advertisements for 2025.
Motion.
Got a motion by Booth. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Rackety. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's approved. Next up is the business recognition program request. Aaron.
I am presenting on behalf of the Economic Vitality Committee. We are working on a program which is acknowledging businesses in our community who are celebrating milestones. So whether they are starting out within the community, coming in and opening up, or whether they have been here for, I think somebody's celebrating 95 years in the community this year and another 15-year in the community this year, both of you on this board. So we want a way of celebrating and acknowledging. So we came up with a window cling idea, and they are varied by 5-year increments. And we have different outlets to order them online, and then I'm waiting for a quote from another board member as well. So as soon as we have those, but I did price them out online, and that is in the work plan. And then also that she just had up are the congratulatory and thank you cards that can be used across all 4 committees. So if we have, a business doing something or celebrating something, whether it's they've just received a Match on Main grant and we want to send a congratulations card, it can be sent and it represents the entire Main Street group, the organization as a whole. And so I want to be able to order these and represent and send them out to celebrate. And it's branded with the logo and the materials and all of that. And then you can see the downtown logo is on them as well. And they would be placed on the doorway as you walk in. And so anybody coming in of or out of the business is going to see that. And it's a talking point and it's bringing awareness to the longstanding businesses and the new businesses coming in. So we played around with the idea of, banners and A-frames and, do we want our businesses to have to put banners in and out every day or take A-frames in and out every day, and they're heavy, and then we have to worry about replacing them because of the weather. Whereas a window cling, it's easy peasy. We can store them here in the basement. When they hit that milestone, we can give them a card that we're ordering with this. Groups can sign them and then take them and celebrate, get a picture, press release, and it's easy peasy.
So it's like just a small window plate?
It's a
or-
5x5 window cling, so
Okay.
they're a substantial size.
Mhm.
Okay.
We compared it to the social district window cling, and they're relative to that size.
Yep, so there would be a design for 1 year, I think 1, 5, 10, and then
Yep.
20, 30, 40.
Yeah, it's
50.
5-year increments, so every 5 years, I think we did it.
So,
So,
and this would be done on an annual basis. I know we had talked about trying to do it on a monthly basis, but getting a business anniversary specific to the month is actually really difficult. Like some do know when. And we thought this would be, in terms of like our first go at something like this, if we just did it once a year at the beginning of the year and we kind of did a big rush of activity and a press release and celebration and hand delivering window clings and things like that to update people's anniversaries, that would be a better way in for us starting out. And something that would be very visible and kind of takes care of some of the challenges Aaron mentioned about other types of recognition that we considered that just seemed kind of clunky. Whereas these can kind of live for a long time.
We'll have better impact doing it in one shot.
yeah.
I think it'll bring a lot more attention to the program.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So do have price is a little bit in flux that right now it's close to $850. And then, of course, we have sufficient quantities that we shouldn't need to reorder many of these materials for several years, with the exception of, hey, maybe I'm writing 10 thank you cards a week, right? Or
Right.
congratulation cards, and we need to replace those, but the window clings tend to be the higher expense, but we won't really need to re-up on any of those for a number of years.
Right, and they have minimum orders that you know, quantities that you have to reach on the window clings. The cards I went with 250 of each to start with. You know, we can divide those up between the committees if necessary. So the chair of each committee can have some just to have on hand. So if, you know, Courtney needs some or Mike needs some, you have them, however that needs to work. The window clings, that's the bulk of the budget right there.
Any questions for Aaron?
Or other members of the committee.
Right.
Yes, a couple of them are here.
Or general thoughts or reactions?
Like I say, I think it's good to recognize the longevity of establishments in your community and, you know, and I can't help but think the consumers wouldn't see that as a strong comfort zone that somebody's been here for a while and they're still here, whether it's 10 years or 25 years or what.
Do we know our oldest business? Southern?
I can probably tell
That would
you.
make sense. You've got business and building.
Southern, yeah.
I want.
I'm at 125,
It's,
going strong.
Building.
That, it's specifically just here though, or that building. You're right. Feel my thunder.
It's like, I think Tibbetts would probably like to make the case that.
Oh, sure, yeah, I guess so.
it is, I believe.
Even though they had an intermission. I think
1871, I thought was Southern. Don't they say continuous banking since
So, yeah,
1871?
Yeah, we could add one
Huh.
that's specific that says oldest business in downtown Stillwater. It's probably be worth the cost, so.
We have the oldest business person. Can we have that
I
award
was
too?
gonna say, I don't know about oldest.
I guarantee you, I know
Historic?
that these
Oh,
days.
What we
Most
have
Well, I get up tomorrow morning.
is the Branch County Court Complex, that's 177. But
Oh,
the actual
that's cool.
business is St. Mark's, and that's 168.
Oh,
Ah,
So, and then you've got Masonic Temple is 165.
oh my gosh.
So, I mean, you've got a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I'm wrong. I'm so sorry. Leg Lumber Store is 188. I apologize.
Oh, that's right, I knew
Congrats.
that.
Yep,
Oh.
I apologize.
188?
So,
That'd be, is that
We could-
3 or 4 generations?
Yeah.
More than that,
Eight.
wouldn't it be?
4 generations?
Yeah,
Yeah.
A lot
Wow.
of trees.
it's a solid business.
150, yeah, probably 4 to 5. Going strong. Something to be said for that. I don't think you're gonna see too many new businesses today saying that.
Agree.
Yeah, so the purpose is, you know, the connection with the downtown businesses as well as promoting the downtown business to the community as a whole.
Mhm,
You know, the number seems a little high up, but it is something that's gonna last several years.
mhm.
You know,
we
just-
did talk about, Audrey and I did discuss, in 2024, we had a lot of brand new businesses start up. And so we talked about acknowledging those, especially later in 2024. So including them in this round. We had a couple of milestones also. Dutch Uncle hit 50 years. Century
cool.
Bank hit 115.
Mm.
Kendrick, they had one.
Mhm.
Branch Insurance, the Goodie Shop hit 70. And I know they celebrated, but maybe we could also include them with a 70-year sticker and go in and say, we started this up. We want to make sure that we are acknowledging you and just include them because 70 years is 70 years and
Oh,
we
for
need to
sure.
make sure we support that. So.
Okay, any more discussion or questions for Aaron? Do we have a motion to approve the Main Street Work Plan as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Moving on to the next item is the board president and vice president nominations and elections for this coming year. As everybody recalls, every January, under the bylaws that we adopted about a year and a half ago, 2 years, we now do this every year. So the time is upon us yet again. So do we have any nominations for president for the coming year?
Keep it up, Michael.
A second.
Do we have any other nominations for the position of president for the 2025 year?
Nobody's in competition for more meetings with me.
I love you.
Take it personally.
I love you, bud.
Been there, done that.
Okay, awkwardly as the president, all in favor of me being president?
Aye.
Opposed, I'll just be silent. Approved. Next up is the position of vice president for the coming year.
I would nominate Courtney.
I will second that motion. Okay, so, yeah. Any other nominations?
You're good for that, girl?
Okay, all in favor of Courtney being the vice president for 2025 through January of 2026, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, hearing none, that is approved. So we have our officers for the coming year.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll clap.
Thank you. So next up is the 2025 impact report presentation. This is going to be potentially a bit lengthy, but a lot of good information.
Yes,
Audrey does talk fast, so we're good.
yeah, that's something I'm supposed to be working on. I'm not sure how I'm doing. I kind of forget. So I wanted to show you, obviously, we have the impact report standard through the template that Main Street provides to us and that I fill out the information for, choose photos, verbiage, all of those kinds of things. But to my point earlier, we do track more information than makes it into this. And there's also lots of other things that are specific to our program that we might want to share that just doesn't happen to be a part of that template. So one of my goals with redesigning this for a format that I can present on was to add more information that we wanted to share and also to put in a version that works better for a screen than the 8.5 by 11. So that took lots of work last year, but I'm glad that we did it. So this year I'm going to start off with who we are Main Street at the front of my presentation. You're welcome to update your photo if you'd like to. Laura, I did steal one from the internet.
Yeah, I will get your new photo.
We can change that. I got to update Courtney's this year because she had some really exciting photos taken when she was the grand marshal of the holiday parade, for example. So yeah, it's nice in terms of like who is Main Street? And so this is a point for me to point out who our board members are, to kind of thank and note outgoing board members from the previous year and just highlight those who are new faces with us. So that's what I do. Slide 1. Actually should grab my notes, 'cause I haven't practiced this yet. And I can't see my notes in this form. Page 1, this is kind of high level. This is orienting people when they review our report to what are our goals, right? So our transformation strategy makes it in here in terms of the family friendly, the revitalizing buildings, and supporting the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And this is also where we give people a sense of what is Main Street to us and what is downtown to us, and what area are we keeping track of all these stats and projects within. And so that's kind of all the information to the left about the number of blocks, the amount of green space, parcels, just kind of high information. And usually when I present to the same board more than once, I start out with a quiz, which is how many parking spaces do we have downtown? The answer, of course, is plenty. 898, which I don't even think does not account for the on-street spaces as well. So I always use slide 1 to proselytize the amount of parking that we've got. And new this year, since we have visitor data information from 2023, I get to now highlight the number of visitors that downtown receives in a calendar year, which last year was close to 186,000. This is basically the same as what is in the page 1 of our actual report. This is always a juicy slide, very robust. There's a lot of information, not just on this page, but there's also a lot of information that I add to this page when I'm speaking to different groups. So we can look at some really exciting things like private investment. This year we had over $500,000 of private investment in the downtown. So we track this on a yearly basis. And we're also tracking this on the basis of since we became a Main Street community. So anywhere you see program to date and a higher figure beneath a larger one, that's telling us what have we tracked in this reporting period versus what are we tracking cumulatively. So this year we had close to 600,000 private investment, and then 3 years total, we've had 2.6 million. Similarly for facade projects, we had 12 projects this year, but program to date is 23. So when we think about facade projects, these are things like the Schemmels refresh that they did on their building. It's our own investment into 58 and 60 West Chicago Street when we did those improvements over the summer. It's money spent by the executive suites on some of their maintenance work. A facade project can also be signage. So if a new business like, City Barbershop invests in a new sign, we get to track that. And then that shows up as a facade project. We also track new businesses. We had 5 new businesses last year: Shawarma Station, Carpe Diem Skin Spa, Tig's Canteen, Jim's Place, City Barbershop. And so we track those as well. Something that I like to add to this is public investment. So while we track private investment, it's also nice to tell people how much that either the DDA or city council has invested into downtown maintenance projects and things like that. And this year we were around 120,000. So obviously last year the number was much bigger because there was Four Corners Park in there, and we had maybe more children's museum expenses and things like that. Rebates, facade improvement rebates, all of that is included in our public investment. So something that's fun to point out, and I get to point out this year, is when we look at this business wish list, this comes from the Pulse poll that we did in 2022 when we had 700 people tell us what they wanted to see downtown. And we have accomplished one of those, which is we do now have a Middle Eastern restaurant at Shawarma Station. So, I get to add a fun checkpoint there to highlight that, hey, we've got one. Certainly more that we would like to have, but we are making progress. This also includes just some general community stats that we have in the bottom right. I usually don't spend too much time on that other than to note things like if there's change over the previous year. So I think we had around a 7% increase in household income in our area that last year. And we had around 200 new housing units that were at least reported from the data that Main Street pulls. And I get to forecast because we have housing under construction currently. By the time we get to our next year's impact report, that number will jump up quite a bit between the apartments on Willowbrook or the senior housing or some of the other projects that are going on. Questions? Great. And we also, in the middle, we list some of the incentives that are available to downtown businesses through us or our partners, like the loan pool, like the facade grants, the holiday promotion that we just did, match on main funding, the market data that we provide, the visitor data, revolving loan fund, et cetera, et cetera. I think the only stat I usually like to add to that slide is the amount that people have spent on building purchases. Just kind of interesting to see what's changed hands. This page is always highlights kind of fun projects that we want to talk about and the value of volunteerism to our organization. So this year, the projects that we highlighted were the first mural that we've sponsored that our board member Matt did on the Hanchett Street building, the Hope Cafe celebrating its 2nd anniversary, and an earmark for a Match on Main grant that they have since received for their improvements, and the very large undertaking of our corridor and public amenity survey that the design committee carried out. So those are our featured projects this year, as well as an excellent testimonial from our newest committee member, one of our newest committee member turned board members, Al Rackesee. So thinking about volunteer hours, in our last reporting period, we had 400 volunteer hours, which is good because we're seeing an increase year over year. And one reason for that is because we are putting more time towards projects. We do have more volunteers, and also because we're getting better at tracking those hours and counting them. So 2 of those. And as we noted earlier, we've officially surpassed 1,000 hours for over the past 3 years. Which is a great benefit to us. There's a certain figure that Main Street uses to tell us what the value is of that time commitment. And so we have those figures at the bottom of the screen as well. Compared to last year, we had 25% more volunteer hours than we did, well, yeah, compared to last year. And we also had something fun to note is grant awards. So something that isn't necessarily reflected in the highlight, but Schemmels did receive grant award last year for Match on Main and for a facade improvement. Now, something that doesn't show up yet in here, just kind of as a note, our reporting period for this report is always October through September. Yes, it's October through September. This matches the state's fiscal year. So while we know that Hope Cafe has since received a grant award, for example, we don't actually get to take credit or necessarily put the value of that award on paper until the following year. So for some of these projects that happen late in a calendar year, there is a little bit of lag on when that shows up in the numbers, just as something to be aware of. Because next year we've got around 95,000 additional grant fund dollars or public investment that we would get to report on next year for the Hope Cafe Award and for the facade rebates that we have coming up in 2025. Am I going both fast enough and slow enough? Okay, let me know. This is oh, nope, this one is in our traditional report. It's trying to point out what is added extra for fun and what is in our regular one, but this one already exists. So this is where we kind of had some pre-canned content. We did a storytelling series with Michigan Main Street in 2023 and late 2023. And then we got to roll this out at the very beginning of the 2024 calendar year. This was lots of fun. As a reminder, this was a podcast interview between myself and Courtney. And then it was one-on-one or two-on-one interviews with some really exciting and interesting faces of the downtown. This was a project that Michigan Main Street coordinated because they understand the value of storytelling and getting to know some of those personal details or things that necessarily don't come up in everyday conversation, but that are really important about and to the people who are downtown. So This ranged from Christine, who was one of our features at Tibbetts, to our own board president, who's not on the board but owns a building, owns a business downtown. A very fun and restaurant that people love downtown, who represents some of our local diversity. And of course, another family that has owned buildings and has a really deep history with downtown and its transformation over time. This was fun. Through sharing these, I think we had like 75,000 reach on social media. And I think, yeah, it was tremendous. And that's kind of like just shows the value of telling stories. Like when you focus on people and it's just much more interesting than other static content. I think this is what led to a lot of our growth in social media this year. So I did do some math. We had basically close to a 50% increase in followers on Facebook, around 20% more on Instagram, which is slowly increasing our digital footprint and the amount of people who are paying attention to all the fun things that we're doing, fun and yeah, all that we're doing. So questions there? No, great. This is a slide that I add that's not part of our report because our investment in the Children's Museum is, a good chunk of our budget and being able to help support that building and support their growth there. And we also fundraise from a lot of people to do that project. So I think it's really important that we remind them of how valuable that was and continues to be for us, and to highlight all of the growth that the museum has experienced in that space. So I had Shauna fact check these figures for me, but they did have 14,000 visitors last year, which is 130% increase, which is, more than doubled their previous location. Since they've moved downtown, they have 11 new exhibits, and their revenue has also increased tremendously, not just from people coming in and paying to enter, but because they do have retail there, because they are getting more sponsorships and support, they are really doing fantastically, and we've got 14,000 more people or more trips to our district because of it. So I would love if we could get an update on some of the visitor data that was pulled for 2023. I'd really love to see how the museum has shifted some of that.
They've really expanded their retail presence.
Mhm.
And in the very beginning, I was hoping for more in the downtown environment, and boy, have they expanded that, which obviously there's a demand,
Mhm.
and it's great. I walk by there at night and it's like, wow, there's a retail location again.
Mhm.
So that's really great to see.
We
And
talked,
obviously-
we talked about at some point with the coloring book, selling the coloring book there.
Yeah. I
Be a
think
great, yeah,
it could be
nice
natural.
connection and partnership.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to be dragging a bunch of kids in there, knowing how much it's gonna cost. The kids go right for the stuff, man. It's hilarious. They just big smiles on their face and away they go. It is really cool.
Oh, right. We witnessed some of that on our walkabout.
Oh, God, it is cool.
Mhm. I think it's fun. Right. Oh, one of our meetups, it's the April meetup, actually, which will be in the morning. I think on a Thursday. That is the only typo I've discovered on our rack card. That I'm really excited, and I'm hoping that we get a really good turnout for that. Because there are lots of people who maybe don't have kids of that age, who aren't necessarily going into the museum, and maybe don't feel like they should just kind of pop in for fun, but really extending an invitation to downtown business and building owners and staff to say, hey, come check this out. This is bringing a lot of people downtown. It's a beautiful space. We've put a lot into it, and wanting them to have a little experience. And we can finally really go wild and play in there.
If you haven't heard the story from them, it's well worth hearing. I mean, our Rotary Club went in there and they explained the whole program and process and the numbers and things, and it's quite the business, and they're really doing a nice job, and we all should know
Mhm.
Yeah.
exactly the history and story they have to tell. I'm impressed,
Mhm.
and I was not a supporter in the beginning. I've said that before. It didn't make sense for me to have a business like that downtown, but I was wrong. I
Mhm.
was wrong.
You were an early convert, Brad, so don't, and a strong promoter of making it happen, so.
And now you should take credit and talk about it as part of your legacy.
Yes. and-
Exactly.
I'll wait for my screen to come back. I've
Think of
blacked
ways to
out
partner.
here, huh?
Think of ways to partner.
Okay, here we go. I actually do great on time. I know you're not getting quite the fun version of this that I hope to give Rotary tomorrow morning, but thanks for letting me practice, everyone. And then lastly, that's really the end of the content that's, other than I didn't cover event attendance per se, that's in our report. But this is then where I talk about, well, what's coming up, right? Like we've talked about what we're doing, but it's also important to share what we have coming down the pike, what's in the process, and also to let people know that they can participate if they want to. So on my list to share, we've got some info here is the public art campaign or the public art program that's in the works, the Love Local event, the business recognition program that the board just approved, the meetup schedule for 2025, the coloring book workshops that we've just completed in that historic preservation project that's coming. And then, of course, as Courtney reminded me about earlier, is, to talk about the fund development that we're doing that supports this transformation that the board is working to achieve with our volunteers and with the community, and sharing them that, hey, we do have a goal of increasing our revenue by 15,000, and here are all the ways that we think we can use that. I think for the size of board that we are and for the budget that this organization has, notwithstanding staff, we do a lot with it. And even just having 10 or 15 more a year, I think that would really make a significant difference to more programming for entrepreneurship, potentially developing grants for downtown businesses and, needs that they have that maybe there's not a state level program for, things of that nature. So I'm very excited to tell them about that and to take questions, as I always do.
Good interaction. I've always enjoyed when you've come to speak.
Yeah, are there things that come to your mind that you're like, oh, we should talk about this, or I want people to know something that we haven't covered, because this just comes off the top of my noggin. And extra eyes are always welcome.
I really think the numbers are helpful, you can sit there and go, oh boy, I feel like this or feel like that's doing well or not well, or, do we have enough of this or enough of that? But the raw data is just such good information. Like if you said how many restaurants, I would not have guessed 12.
I know, same. I looked at that and I
Mhm.
thought, where are
I
they?
could probably count them up and, and everything.
And we
13
live
blocks, that seems a little big too.
We live here and we don't put that together. Think about that.
Yeah. So that raw data that we have, both just about who we are, but also all of the things that we've done over the several years and that are in process. That stuff really kind of jumps out at me. I know you talked about storytelling being great, and it is, but so is the raw data. Because it can become the story, and you don't get the story without all the investment that's happened both privately and publicly. So it's a great report. It really is.
All right, well, if you think of anything between now and 6 a.m., please let me know. But, I've got Rotary tomorrow and I have 3 more after, so there's time to tweak if you think of something.
Have you typically done Altrusa?
I've been to El Trusa twice.
Okay.
I think the difficulty is they schedule
They're
so
scheduling
far out
a year out.
and they meet once a month.
Right, right.
I've never gotten in.
So
Interesting.
that's my only comment.
So an organization like that, you should try to see if you can just be once a year. Just say,
Mhm.
hey, give me
October or
a,
something, yeah.
yeah, give me the third week of whatever. Just put me on one every year.
That's
And
smart.
also technically, I could give this presentation anytime. It would just be like, if you're giving it to a group who really is even less familiar with us, it doesn't matter what year, if this is 7 months out of date or not, it's still going to be exciting
Right.
and
Good
impressive.
Yeah.
I could even pull content from last year to really give people like, hey, this is what we've been doing for 2 years. And then just with the caveat of, oh, by the way, these numbers have probably gone up fabulously since we did this report, because we're 6 months into our reporting year, for example. So,
Excellent. Okay, moving on to the next committee reports. Do you have any committee reports?
oops, sorry. Our screen
Dean,
back.
do you have something?
Good afternoon. From the design committee, we are currently working with the branch internet ISD, the Career Center welding shop, on a sculpture for downtown. We've been able to secure a sponsor for that sculpture, so we shouldn't be coming to the DDA for any direct funding requests for that. Really excited about engaging a lot of those kids. and kind of getting them involved in the downtown. The interesting thing about working with the Career Center is they're not all Coldwater students. We've got, students from Reading even, Bronson, Quincy. So it's fun to kind of get them excited about projects downtown. Also, a lot of support from different businesses throughout the community that are looking at the next crop of welders. And so they're excited about, stepping in and giving some assistance to them as well. It also touches on the auto body class as they're going to paint the sculpture for us. I believe the CAD class is also working on some of the designs and some of the kind of cutouts that'll go on it. So really excited about that. We've also been working with the high school on some murals at another location downtown. So engaging a lot of the students in the high school and middle school in that program. And then as Audrey had stated earlier in her report, working on preparing RFPs for a couple other permanent murals downtown. These student ones we kind of envision as being part of a rotating program. So Arthur will be here for a year. Haven't really hammered out what happens after that year. If we keep it and move it to other locations, if we're able to auction it off or just kind of send it back to the students themselves. But that's kind of where the design committee's been for the last month.
Oh, excellent. That's great news.
I don't know, I'm probably dating myself, but going back to the welding projects, I don't know if anyone remembers, but the chamber used to do their Christmas auction. And they would bring those welders and they would do amazing projects of sculpture pieces and things that they bring and auction off at the Chamber of Christmas. Well done, very well done. It'll be interesting to see how that sculpture project turns out.
Yeah, one of the kind of small ideas going into the projects, the way we're trying to organize them is the way the city does Winterfest, and they have the wood carver come in and carve the various sculptures, and then those get sold off or auctioned off afterwards. So then people throughout the community have access to some of these kind of items that they otherwise wouldn't. So we're trying to kind of bring some of that thought into these temporary art installations and think, well, is this also an avenue for people throughout the community to be able to purchase art that's made here?
I think you're going down a great
Yeah.
road, Dean. This is fabulous to hear.
Mhm.
Involving the student body, the next generation of our community, just awesome. And auctioning them off, I think, is a great thing. I've got several pieces at my house,
Mhm.
including an engine block from the Career Center that
Mhm.
has a lot of conversation when people see it. But, yes, auction it off to the community, have a get together, put it out there online. I think you'd be amazed the interest you'll see within the community to take those home with them at some point. I think that is great, Dean. Absolutely great.
Yep, the hope is to be able to support those programs a little bit with some proceeds, hopefully
Mhm.
support the DDA and these public art programs, kind of build some perpetuity in their funding, and maybe also be able to support another organization. For instance, if we auction something at the chamber annual meeting or at the Tibbetts auction. So it's kind of trying to engage a lot of those different organizations. Erin's been tremendous in getting sponsorships, connecting with the schools. So a lot of this is due to her direction and her connections.
That's exciting.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any
You'll
other?
you'll
committee
also
reports?
remember that we also use the ISD students, business management students to make our Christmas ornaments this year too. So those students are just doing a great job and it's nice to have that youth component and engaging them.
Future of our
Mhm.
community, for sure.
Excellent. Any old business? Okay, new business. Now any public comments? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned.
That is.
Oh, go post the story.
Announce our
Back to
appointment.
8 a.m.
We
next
can go.
month.
When I said, Angela, maybe you regretted it. or
And my
something.
coffee.
I just
I
told
called you
you,
out.
like, I know, but
Uh,